In this video, I am going to talk to you a little bit about displacement maps and how to use these and what to use them for. Okay, so the way this works is kind of like the modes in a way where you have two layers interacting with each other in unusual ways. So if you look at this layer here, for example, when it plays, you have this black and white, and in some areas it's going to be gray. And this is going to become invisible, but it's going to impact another layer using a displacement, using this as the displacement map. Okay, so let's go ahead and just take, let's see, this woman. So this is going to work well. And we'll create a new composition. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And then we're going to take another layer, and let's take that same one that I just had, and I'm going to put it in the stack here. Okay, with that selected, I'm going to then come in here and type in displacement map and apply it to our lady here. Make sure it's on the right one. Okay, and immediately you can kind of see how they're interacting with each other. But what you want to do is you're going to say which layer are you going to use as the displacement. We're going to use this auto bar. And so you can see that we have this very interesting sort of look going on. Obviously, it makes no sense on her face, but I used this one so that you can get a really good idea of what's going on here. And so you can play around with this max vertical displacement so you can have some interesting effects going on. Most of the time, you are going to use this in a way that's a lot more subtle. So I moved this map max vertical displacement to 0 so that I wasn't seeing these edges. Okay, and so let's go ahead and just put in a different displacement map for a minute and see how a different one looks. This is a fractal noise movie. I'm going to turn off this one, go back to our layer where the displacement map lives, and in the effect control, I'm going to change that from auto bars, which was that other one, to fractal noise. And so now this is far more subtle because you could see her face is kind of like morphing around a little bit. Okay, and so that's basically what a displacement map is. It takes the black and white information and it impacts the layer that you identify as where it's going to go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you something that we can do with displacement map other than just kind of making it kind of wobble around a little bit. And that is something that you do in Photoshop. So we're going to take our lady here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, and let's turn off that one here so that's not locked. And on this other layer, first of all, I want to put this lady on the top, and I'm going to change the opacity to 50% just so I can see beneath it. Okay, but I'm actually going to be painting on this layer here. So before I do that, what I want to do is I want to fill this layer. So let's go ahead and select all. And now I just hit Command A to select all, and you can see now that the whole thing is selected. And under Edit, Fill, this is in Photoshop, I'm changing this to black. Okay, so now I can kind of see, I might even turn down the opacity on this woman even a little bit more so we barely see her. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to paint with the paintbrush. Okay, and I'm painting with a brush that has white, and I'm going to turn this opacity down to about 30%. And the more you press down on these things, the brighter it gets. And what's going to happen is the bright images are going to move more than the images that are not so bright. So maybe we're going to make her eyes really bright, and maybe since her nose is close to the camera. All right, so this is, maybe we want her hair to move a little bit. And so let's take a look at what this is looking like. So this is what the map is that we're creating, okay? So let's give herself a little bit more here. And let's see how she's looking. Lovely. Okay. I want to fill in a little bit there too, okay? And okay, we'll make her darker there. Let's turn this on for a second. Get the hair to move as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this as a PSD with layers. And this, I don't need alpha channels here. So I'm going to say OK. And then when I go into After Effects, let's create a new comp. All right, and we will go ahead and import our project there, which is on the desktop. Pretty Face PSD. Again, change it to composition so we get all our layers. And I want to be able to edit this. All right, so now I'm going to look at these individual layers. And here's that layer, and here's this layer. I'm going to Shift Command, and so I bring them both in at the same time. Okay, and then since they're both selected here, I hit the letter S and they'll scale up uniformly. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the visibility. Let's go ahead and see which is which here. This is the face and this is the map. So I'm going to turn that one off. I'm also going to rename this so I can just look at it and know which is the map. And this is our pretty face. Okay, so let's go ahead and now we're going to take this pretty face and we're going to apply a displacement map to it. Okay, so what's interesting about this displacement map, let's go ahead and make sure the map is selecting the right thing, is now what I can do is, this is going to be subtle. It goes back to trying to give some motion to a still image. So look at this. If you make just slight motions, it kind of looks like her head is moving. And if we spent more time with the map, but look at her eyes. It actually kind of looks like she's moving. Now if you go too far, obviously it's going to get pretty wonky. Okay, so let's put this back to 0. And let's go ahead and maybe we're going to animate this, we're going to animate the horizontal displacement of this. So over here we're going to start maybe over here. And maybe we're going to have her up on for 5 seconds. And so you're going to make a little slight motion to before it starts to get distorted. So maybe to about there. Now her left eye is darker than the other, so it looks like, you know, it's going a little bit too much, but you get the idea. So now if I pre-render this, we get this very subtle animation to her face to get it look like, you see the background is not moving, but her face is moving. So that's one thing that you might also consider doing in the displacement map.